Make sure you're always looking
I was looking at you, not there.
Nope.
Oh, that's great. I had to do a video the other day and they kept on making me look in the camera and it was so hard. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so my name's Charlotte Potter and I'm a conceptual artist. A lot of my artwork for some years now has been about trying to facilitate connection between people and sort of trying to articulate this unknown space of connectivity and relationships. And then finally, I realized, well, what's the modern day prosthesis for connection? And it was Facebook. Facebook is what everybody uses to connect to one another. And I went upon this sort of futile endeavor to try to hand engrave every single one of my friends on Facebook's profile picture as a glass cameo. The reason that they started to become these small, beautiful little pendants of sorts is this idea of adornment. I think about the way that people try to adorn themselves with friendship on Facebook, the way that they try to collect as many friends, this kind of obsessive collectiveness. And I started thinking, well, I'm going to adorn my friendships, and I've adorned them on this wall. So there's an element of vanity, I think, that's within this piece. Each one of these took approximately 3 hours each to make. So I can't do the math in my head, but what's 3 hours times 864? And that's the bare minimum. So it's been really ironic working on this piece, realizing how much time I'm investing in each one of these people who I might not have invested that much time in real life. And it makes me think about people who really invest huge amounts of their life in this whole other kind of fantasy world online. And so this is kind of my own little fantasy world. My parents raised us in a hobbit house. It was made after the Lord of the Rings, and so there was a lot of fantasy that was very alive for us as children. You know, if we watched a movie, my dad would like pause the movie in the middle of it and he put a piece of tracing paper over the screen and then trace out, you know, Bilbo Baggins, say. And then he would trace that onto a piece of wood, cut it out, and we'd have to paint it while we watched the rest of the movie. So everything became an arts and crafts project. So I think, yes, growing up in a rural country where, you know, you kind of had to entertain yourself and you'd entertain yourself through creative processes has absolutely informed the work that I make today. It was really hard. I tried to keep it as up to date as possible. So people who friended me even as far as a month ago are on this piece. People who friended me last week, I have to be honest, they're not in this because the process is longer than that to be able to manufacture one. It was really interesting to work directly with the curators from the Oklahoma City Museum of Art to produce this piece. This piece has never been exhibited before, so it's been a 2-year process of developing every single one of these cameos and also developing the proper architecture of display. The way that you really connect with people isn't so much on Facebook, it's off Facebook. So I actually started to weave in my personal history with Facebook. So that's why each person is located where I met them as opposed to where they live in cyberspace. This is essentially a map, and because New Zealand couldn't quite fit on this, it's actually around the corner, so people will have to discover New Zealand around the corner because it doesn't quite fit.
That's awesome.
This work is really, I think, a really poignant collision of the historically handmade and the modern technology. And I hope that even though this is a very personal narrative, that each person can read their own story into it and can implant themselves as one of these cameos and can look in and realize that this is about the interconnectedness of human beings and of relationships. And these are kind of the wild webs that we weave in our lifetime.